All right, folks, here we are, part 2 of C.R.U.D. So if you recall, the other day when we looked at this, we talked about our favorite new acronym, C.R.U.D. And what does that stand for? Create, read, or retrieve, either one. Update, I heard somebody say that. And the last one? Delete, right? Okay, what things did we learn how to create, read, update, delete? We looked at databases, tables, columns, also known as fields, right? We didn't actually look at records yet. We're doing that today. That is a thing you can do with this. We just haven't looked at it yet. Yeah? Any more? There's one other one. Primary key, yeah. Those are ones we looked at the other day. Now, we also looked at how to set the default value, how to allow a record to be null, allow null values or not null values, right? And we looked at, I think there was one other thing here. Use tell, describe, rep. I guess that was it. Yeah, keys, nulls, and defaults. That was it. All right. So any questions about any of that stuff? All right, one other thing. What is the key word for creating a table or a database? Create. What's the key word for creating a column?
Add.
Add. Very good. Nice. All right, what's the key word for reading a database? Use. I heard somebody say it. Use. How about reading the table structure? Not the records, but the structure. Describe, right? Also, you could argue that show, as in show tables, that lists all the tables, right? Okay. What about if we want to update a table? What is it? Alter. And then if I want to, no, alter is for a table, modify is for what? For, yeah, everything else in the table, right? For records, or for fields, I should say. Modify for modifying fields. And what's the other one that we can use instead of modify? Change. Very good. Okay, if I want to delete a database, a table, a record, not a record, let me back up. I want to delete a database, a table, a column, a primary key. What's the key word? Drop. Very good. Okay. If you have more detailed questions and you felt a little fuzzy on some of this review, go back and watch the video from the other day, all right? Okay, so let's move on today. Now, I want to make it absolutely 100% clear that we are shifting to a different world now, all right? This world that you see on the screen here is the world of database and table structure. It's the house. It's not the people in the house, right? We're now going to start focusing on the people in the house, the records, inserting records, like adding your name and your address to the table. So it's a whole different planet. Remember, with structure, we always have that little sort of rhythm where we say the thing we're going to do, say the thing we're doing it to, say its name, right? That's not a thing with records. This is only a thing with structure, okay? That's not a thing with records. All right, I'll just leave that page behind there and we'll get a new page. We'll save this as a database or a .SQL file here so I can have some syntax highlighting. Queries.sql. You don't have to save it if you are using a notepad like this. You don't have to save it as .sql, but why not? It gives you syntax highlighting, right? All right, so here we go. So let's go back to our thing for C.R.U.D. And I mentioned to you the other day in my other acronym for this stuff, C.R.U.D works pretty well for structure because it's the actual keyword, create, and well, delete's not the keyword, right? So maybe C.R.U.D's not even a good acronym for the structure, right? The only one where the word actually matches the command is create, all right? But in the record world, we can make my other acronym, which makes things line up beautifully, right? So we can have delete, update, insert, and select. all right? DUIs, right? So delete is actually the keyword that you will use to delete a record. Update is actually the keyword you will use to update a record. Insert is actually the keyword you will use to look at the record. And then select is actually the keyword you will use to get the record. All right? So that's a good little acronym there if it helps you remember it. Okay? Well, the truth is, this is still CRUD. Where is the CRUD at? Where's the C in this list here? Insert, right? That's you're creating the record. Where's the read? The R. Select. Where's the update? Obviously here, and then the delete is here, right? Okay. So those are the 4 keywords. I'm going to comment those out right there so we can look at them a little bit later. And just a friendly reminder, putting 2 dashes and a space is how you leave notes in the SQL file to yourself. This stuff is ignored by SQL when you run it, okay? Let's start with insert statement, because you have an upcoming assignment where you have to insert a whole bunch of records for Alexamara. We talked about that database last time. It's a database for a marina group. It has boat owners. It's kind of like our condo thing, the Solmaris, whatever. It's kind of like that, but it's boat owners. So it's going to have like the location of all the docks. It's going to have people who own the boats, the actual boats themselves, maintenance things, and stuff like that. So we're going to just insert into the rep table, but you can apply this to your Alexamara database when you get to that assignment. So let's start off with the insert. I want to, let's take a look at our rep table here. Describe rep. Now you've seen me, I had that on the screen right there. You guys have seen me do this already, but I didn't explain it. So let's talk about what's happening here. So let's scooch this over a little bit. And I think we can see the fields pretty well right there. And then over here is my insert statement. So the first thing is I want to insert, and you might as well just get used to the idea that it's always going to be insert into. That's just, they just go together, right? Insert into whatever table. In this case, it's the rep table, okay? So this is the first part of it. You say that you're inserting into whatever table, and then you decide which fields you're going to be inserting into. Well, we want to insert into all the fields, right? So in parentheses, we say rep num, comma, last name, first name, street, city, state, postal code, commission, and rate. All right, now let's make this full screen here. Okay? So this is a simple idea. I'm saying insert into the rep table, and I want to insert something into each of those fields right there. All right? What do I want to insert into there? The following values. Whatever I put in here will be the values that go into here. Okay? So rep num, we'll give it the number 75. Last name, Jones. First name, whoops, hello. First name is Beavis. Street is 123 Main. City is Boise. State, Florida. Is Boise there too? I don't know if there is or not. Postal code, 99919. Who knows? Commission, 0. Rate, he's 0.05. This is commission rate. All right. So there is the list there, and there it is. All right, now let's look at this closely. This set of fields that I'm inserting into matches up with this set of values. In other words, that number in that spot must go there. That must relate to that, and so on down the line. Okay? Make sense? Now, I do not have to insert in this order. Right? If I wanted to, I could have done this. I could just say last name, first, city, street, state, and then rep num right here. And then as long as I put the actual rep num in that position down here, so it's right before state there, 75, oops. As long as I do that, I'm good. As long as this value lines up with that, this lines up with that, and so on down the line. Make sense? So that putting in that order has no bearing, because I'm literally saying, hey, insert into the rep table, for last name, put Jones. For first name, put Beavis. For street, put 123. For city, put Boise. For rep, put 75. For state, put Florida. Blah, 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 blah. Dig it? Okay, so let's copy and paste. Go back to full screen here. And there we go, one row affected. So if I do a select star from rep, there it is, Beavis Jones, rep number 75, and all of his information's there. Okay, what questions do we have about that idea?
So do we have to have the double quote, the double quotes?
As opposed to doing what, no quotes, or?
Yeah, opposed to no quotes.
Yeah, you have to have quotes for sure. It can be single quotes,
Okay.
but it doesn't have to be double. It can be single or double. And let's talk about why you would choose one over the other in just a second. But yeah, it has to be quotes on anything that is not a number, right? So Beavis is not, it would think that Beavis is a variable or something like that, but it's expecting a string, so that would cause some issues. Now, also note, you can put quotes around anything. I can put quotes around that, and that would run just fine, right? I could put quotes around the zip. You can always put the quotes if you want, but you can never exclude them on something that's actually a character or string or something, okay? So this is also legitimate, but why will this will actually give me an error? Why?
You already have the ID.
Yeah, 75 already exists. So if I wanted to do this guy, I'd have to change the ID to 95, and maybe this is his brother, Butthead or something, right? Okay. So, but that'll work just fine, no problem, right? And so if I look in here, select from rep, and there they are at the bottom right there, okay? So the question then becomes, why would you use single quotes over double quotes? This is a problem you may run into when you do your Lexamara assignment. What if their last name, so let's get a different, I'm gonna move this back to where I like, where a quote goes. Doesn't matter, but just so I can keep things straight in my head. So we're gonna put rep num here. And our new rep num is gonna be, what did I just do? 75, 85, we'll do 95. I don't think I did. Oh, I did, you're right, thank you, good catch. Okay. So 85, and now what if this guy's last name is Riley? This could be a problem if I were using single quotes, right? If I were using single quotes, that's going to get weird because it thinks I just closed something right here, right? This quote here, it thinks I closed it, and then it's like, well, what's this Riley business here? You closed this quote. What is all this crap right? What is all that right here? It's going to get all weird, okay? But you can't. So leaving that O'Reilly for a minute to make us feel weird. We'll come back to that. But doing other than that O'Reilly issue, this is totally legitimate. Having single quotes instead of double quotes, they both work. And you might say, well, why not just always use double quotes so you don't have the O'Reilly problem? Well, I'll tell you why in just a moment. Okay, so let's just get these all squared away here.
So is it just a depends kind of answer?
It is, it depends, and we're going to talk about some cases on which it depends. Okay, so let's look at this first. Let's say I am using single quotes and I have this O'Reilly problem. Well, there's a couple options. I could simply just change this one to double quotes. The end, I'm done, that'll work just fine. Or there's another thing you can do, and this is if you're new to programming especially, listen carefully. Okay, this is it's not a hard concept, but at first when you first hear it, it's a little weird. So in programming, database programming, PHP programming, web programming, everywhere, Java, C++, everywhere, certain characters have a special purpose. For example, what's the semicolon's special purpose in SQL? Yeah, it's the end of statement, right? What's a parentheses special purpose?
That's an argument.
Yeah, to hold the arguments or parameters, right? What's the quote special purpose, single or double?
Or string arrows.
Yeah, it's to enclose a string or something, right? To enclose a piece of data. So it has a special purpose. Well, so it has a job, right? Well, like all real jobs we have in the real life, sometimes we want to escape from our job, right? Okay, so you can help these guys escape from their duty, right? And the escape, you give them a little slide here. It's the backslash. And now you've just told this quote right here, I will allow you to escape from your normal duties of being a string encloser. You're now just a plain old apostrophe, right? You're just like whatever everybody else, right? So that will also work. When I run that, it will not put a slash in the results. So let me run it, I'll see. I'll show you. And if we do a select, you'll see it just put O'Reilly without the slash there. Okay? Everybody see that? So that's called escaping, right? And I just think of it as I made a little slide for this guy to slide right out of reality here, right? Now, there's lots of things you can do. Like, for example, maybe I wanted to have, like, Butthead's real name is, like, Butthead King of Rock. That's his sort of nickname. Well, I want that to say Butthead King of Rock Jones or whatever, or O'Reilly in this case. So I want to put quotes around King of Rock. I could put double quotes, or I can just escape these guys so that they are getting let out of their job. And so now, let's put a new one here. I think 65 available, yes. Okay, let's try this one. So now, there he is, Butthead King, and it rolled off the screen somewhere, it looks like. What's happening here? Let me look at what I did.
Does it truncate?
Oh, it truncated. Yeah, good observation. Why did it truncate?
Even in the character?
Because this is a char 15. That's all it can hold. So it truncated. Very good observation, man. Very good. Yeah. So if I were to increase the character to something higher, then it would not have truncated. Yeah. Good catch. But you get the idea, right? Okay. So questions about the quotes there. Feel okay about that? There are plenty of other things that you can use this escape with. Any character that has a special purpose, if you escape it, it will be relieved of its duties and just be a normal whatever character it is. Okay. Yeah. So good question. So the question was, what if I wanted the actual output to look like this, dude, something like this, like I wanted it to literally look like that, right? Or the slash inside or something like that, right? Is that the idea? Yeah. So when I put a slash in there, it will not show because it's the escape character. It has a special job. But if I escape it, then it will show, right? So let's look at how that would play out. Let's get a number that's available here. 15. Actually, I'm going to delete from rep, and we'll talk about this command in a minute, where rep num is equal to, which one, wrapped around, or truncated 65. Okay. All right. So we'll use 65 again. Let's clean this up here. So let's get rid of all the escapes first. Just make it nice and clean. Like that, right? But now we want, let's make the last name like this. We want his last name to be Jones in quotes. So the first thing we would do is escape that so that those quotes don't close things, but they become part of the string. Right? But now where do you want the slash to appear? Before the quote or after it? Before? So before the slash, I want to escape a slash. And before the quote, right? And before there, I want to escape a slash. So let's look at this in pieces. Did I do that? Yeah. So this by itself will display a single slash because I want to display a slash, but the problem is if I put a slash, it's going to think that I'm trying to escape because that's a slash's job. Well, I'm going to let the slash escape its job by escaping it, right? And then next up, I'm going to have a quote here, and normally that would close off a string, but I'm going to let it escape its job, so I'm going to put an escape in front of it. And then same thing here, the slashes, same explanation I gave there, and this here, same explanation I gave there, okay? So let's get rid of these spaces here. Run that. Make sure I know what I'm talking about. Because you never know with me. I might just be yanking your chain this whole time. Okay, looks like it worked. And there, his name is / Jones, right? That's what you're looking for, right? Okay. Other questions? So the insert is one of the trickiest ones. We're going to talk briefly about delete and update and the select statement. Delete and update, we have other lectures dedicated to them in depth, and same with the select. This is the officially like the insert lecture, right? We're going to briefly touch on select, delete, and update just because I type them all the time in class, and so I want you to at least have some sense of what they're about. But we will dive more deeply into them later. Meanwhile, I'm going to show you a couple things here. Let's go back to a standard scenario here with all of these hacks here. And what numbers we got available? We'll do 5. We'll do 10. Okay. I want to insert 2 new people at the same time, which is something you guys are going to have to do, right? Okay. So you can actually do this. Let's copy this part here. And just for a moment, I'm going to paste it down here. And then this is going to be number 20. And this is Stuart. And I'm not going to change the other data just for the sake of time and ease. I can actually separate a whole bunch of these. And I always have to think hard on the syntax here. I either have to copy this whole thing or just the parentheses. Let's find out. I think I can just do this. I always have to double check. But I can separate that with a comma. So I can say insert into these fields, these values, comma, these. I may have to tack the keyword values on there again. But conceptually, do you see what I've done there? I'm going to try to insert 2 records, right? Okay. And that's just one of those syntax things I always have to look up and think about. Okay, let's see. No, that was the right way. Okay. And there we go. We got, who did we get? We got Jones, Butthead, and Stewart. So there's Jones, Butthead, and there's Stewart Jones. Okay? So that worked just fine. Now, it's a couple little shortcuts you can do here. Notice that I am inserting into all of the fields. Right? Because I'm inserting into all of the fields, let's just go back to doing one insert here. Because I'm inserting into all of the fields, this piece is not even necessary. Because it just is going to assume that you meant to put that in the first field, that in the second field, that in the third field, and so on down the line. Okay? So let's give a new record here. 25 is available. And let's just make a completely different name here so we don't get confused. All right? So let's run that. There we go. And there's Larry Miller right there. Okay? Now you can again use that multiple version where you can do comma separate a whole bunch of these, right? And then comma and then do another one. That is totally legitimate to continue doing that as well. So if you're inserting into every single field, this is a pretty short way to do it, right? It's not too bad. But it gets tricky if you're not using every field, right? So let's back up a little bit. See if I can get back to where I was, right here. For example, maybe Butthead is our new employee, and this is a different Butthead, and this is Butthead Miller, and his ID is 80. He just moved into a brand new place. He doesn't know his address yet, or he forgot it, or whatever. He's in the middle of moving or something like that, right? So we know his name, we know he's in Florida, and we even know he's in Boise, Florida, right? So the zip code's probably okay, but we don't know the street. Right? Let's say we don't even know the city. So if I remove street and city from here, as long as I remove it from here too, we're good. As long as they line up a one-to-one situation there, we're good to go. I can leave all this stuff off, right? Leave everything out of there and just put in those three things. All right, that's a nice little one-liner there, okay? That's totally legit. So when I do that, and I take a look, select star from rep. We see this was Butthead Miller, right? Notice his street is null, his city is null, his state is null, all this stuff's null. Why is it null? Why is it null?
That's the default.
Yeah, that's the default value, right? The default for city and street, and it's all null. All right, well, let's update that. How do we change that? It's the first thing we type. Now we're back to structure, not records, but structure.
Modify.
Mm,
Update.
nope.
Alter.
Alter the table, rep, say what I'm going to do, say the thing I'm doing it to, say its name. Then we're going to modify. Let's modify state to be, it's still going to be a char 2. And the default will be California, Florida, whatever. Okay? There we go. We can do that. And maybe we should have done another one here. Let's modify commission rate, the rate, to, and again, it's a decimal, 3,2. And we want the default value to be 0.04. 0.04 because when you start out, that's just what you start at. And the commission value itself should be 0. This is another one of those ones where I'm going to have to test my memory of syntax here. This may not work. Commission, I'm doing a comma separator there, decimal 7,2, and the first of all, I should say default, and default way back here. Default is going to be equal to 0. I know you can do multiple. There's just the syntax is the tricky part. Let's see. Cross your fingers. Yeah, I got an error. Okay. Let's try one other thing here. Modify column. There it is. Okay, that was the other one. So look at closely what this is. Alter table rep. Let's just piece at a time here, and we'll look at the results in a minute. Say the thing I'm going to do. Say the thing I'm doing it to. Say its name. Alter table rep. Then do that again. Say the thing I'm doing. Say the thing I'm doing it to. Say its name. And then what am I changing? Well, I'm going to keep the same data type, but I'm going to set the default to 0.04. And then again, there's a comma there. Say what I'm going to do. Say its name. Say what I'm doing it to. Its decimal is still 7.2 or 7,2, and then we're setting the default to 0. We did all of that. We ran it, and you can now see that, oops, I meant to do describe, sorry. You now see that the default is Florida, the default commission rate is 0, and the default rate is 4, all right? So now let's come back here, and let's redo this insert here. We'll put a new person and what's available to us. We'll do 70. And this person is Watson Emma, right? If I add this, we don't know her address or anything like that, but look what happens when I look at her record. There it has her name and street's null, city's null, but the state is Florida because that's the default value. Postal code's null, but her commission earned is 0, that's the default, and 0.04 is her starting rate, that's the default. Okay? How do we feel about that idea?
It didn't update Miller, is that intended?
Why it wouldn't update anybody, right?
For the default?
Well, it doesn't update anybody. Yeah, it does not update anybody. It only changes what the default is for when you add a new record.
Oh, okay.
Miller was added before there was a default, right? And so that his default is what the default was at the time. Just like we don't want any of these to change automatically either, right? And so maybe we just want his rate to be null because we're still figuring out what we're going to do with this guy or something like that, right?
Okay.
So yeah, changing the default will not update previous records. It only is updated moving forward. Yeah, good question. Okay, we feeling okay about this?
So going back
Yeah.
to that, is there an easy way to go back and update any records prior to that update?
Yes, so the question is, how can I update stuff that was all the nulls and fix them with the current rate? And when we get to the update command, that's how you do that. We'll talk about that in a minute, yeah. Okay, other questions? Okay. Let me just check my notes, make sure we covered everything I wanted to look at for insert, and I think we did. Yep. So we got 10 minutes. Let me briefly tell you about the delete command, because all we need to know about it for today is just kind of what it looks like. Don't worry too much about it until the future, but here's the basic overview. If I want to delete a record, so I want to delete Emma here or whatever, so we say delete, that's the keyword, from whatever table, so I'm deleting from or inserting into, right, or deleting from rep, and then we have what's called the where clause. It's the condition upon which you're deleting. If I did that right there, guess what? Goodbye table. Goodbye job security. Goodbye everything, right? That whole table goes away, and it will not ask you, are you sure you want it to do that? It'll just delete the rep table and all the data in it, right? So if you did that on the command line, a little tip here, if you're tired, don't work on the command line. This happens all the time. Delete from rep, and I want to maybe go to hit enter to type my where clause in the next line, right? Something like that. So let me finish it. Where rep num equals 0. That won't delete anything, right? Maybe that's what I meant to do, but I said delete from rep, and as I hit enter, I bump the semicolon at the same time. That's entirely plausible, and I've done it, right? And now, oops, I just deleted the rep table, right? Look, show tables. Why is that rep there?
Maybe it just deletes all the records in it.
Oh, yeah, duh. Sorry, I didn't drop the table. I deleted. See, don't use the command line when you're tired. Select star. That's what I meant to type. I didn't mean to type show. Select star from rep. And goodbye. No records. They're all gone. Can I get them back? No. Can't. All that work we just did, I can't get them back. Now, I can re-import it because I do have the original copy that I gave you guys. So let me just do that. But yeah, that's it. I mean, they're gone. Those records are gone. Now later we're going to learn how to be able to protect yourself from screwing up like that, and with rollbacks and commits and things like that. But for today, be careful when you're using that command. Okay, and good catch. I meant to type select. I don't know why I typed show. Don't use the command line when you're tired. Okay, so here we go. Select star from rep. All I have here is just what's in the original table now. Okay, so delete. The deal is with delete, you say delete from whatever, and then you cannot forget this, where some condition is true, where rep num is 15, or something like that, right? Make sense? That's all you need to know for now. Only because you're going to see me do it here and there, and I don't want you to look at it and go, what is he typing there? We will dive into that later in more depth, okay? The update is similar. And again, I'm only going to give you the 2-second version of the update because we're going to spend the last 10 minutes on the select, okay? So update. Update rep, and then a new keyword, set, and don't necessarily type this, but some field equal to some value, right? And again, we need the where clause, right? Because if we don't put the where clause in there, it's going to set everything, right? So for example, set last name equal to Jones. Maybe, let's say Megan got married and decided to take on her husband's last name, Jones, okay? So I want to change her last name to Jones. So update rep, set last name equal to Jones. If I run that right there, what happens?
Everybody gets it.
Everybody's last name is now Jones, right? But I need to have the where clause. So where what?
First name?
Now I heard somebody say where first name equals Megan. I heard somebody say where rep num equals 30. One of those is the better answer, is the correct answer. And why?
Not every Megan got married.
Yes, so if we have 2 Megans in there, we don't want to update all of the Megans, right? So we want to update by the rep number. We looked it up, we know specifically, we went to Megan, we're like, all right, is that you, Megan, right there? Is that your address? Is that, or at least your old one, maybe you moved in with your husband or whatever, but is that your address? She says, yes. We're like, great, okay, your rep number is 30, so where rep num is 30. All right, we fix that now, run it, and if we do a select, there, it's been changed, okay? That's good enough for update and for delete for today, okay? More in depth later. So the question you had about how could I change all the nulls, right? What would that command look like? Well, it'd be simply this: update rep set rate equal to 0.04, where rate is null. And it's actually the phrase is null, not equals null. Equals null means it's equal to the actual word null. Is null means it has no value.
Same thing as like undefined.
Don't bring Java into the party. Yeah, but yeah, you're on the right track. Yeah. But it's the same idea. Yeah. Okay. So this is different than that, right? This is like somebody's rate is the word null, which isn't even a thing because that's a string. I had a student who thought it'd be hilarious that change their last name to the word null. So in a database, it would show null. And if you looked at the database, you wouldn't know if the record's null or if it's the word null. It just says null, right? So, but there is a difference between line 9 and line 10, okay? This one says find all the records where the rate is non-existent, update it to 4.04, okay? All right, we good with that? Again, more depth on update and delete another day. The next big one is the select statement. And then I believe our next lecture is the super deep dive in the select statement, but here's the foundation of it. And you'll see me use this more than anything else. So you've seen this, right? Select star from rep. What do you suppose that star means? It's a wild card, meaning what? All what? Everything what?
Records?
That's the most common thing that people think it means, all records. But it actually doesn't mean all records. It means all something else.
Primary keys?
Well, there's always only one primary key, right? It means all fields. Not all values in the fields, but all fields. So in other words, I don't have to select, right now I'm saying select them all. Select rep, last name, first name, street, city, state, zip, select all those fields, okay? I could say this, just select rep num and last name. I could do that from rep. And it'll just select, last name, not last num, typo. And it will just select the last name and the rep number, right? Rep number, last name, okay? So the star in the select star means give me all of the fields, right? Give me all of the fields, and then how do I determine which records I get? Because every time I'm getting all 4 records, what if I don't want all 4 records? How do I determine that? Use the where clause, right? All right. So that's where we say, let's go with this. I can say, select that from rep where rep num is 15, right? And now it'll give me the name and the number for that one person. Now we're going to dive, the next lecture is called the great and powerful clause. It's the where clause. The whole day is going to be spent on that one clause. So my gut tells me any questions you're going to have about the where clause today, we will cover in a couple days. So we got about 4 minutes to show you the rest of what's going to happen here. So when you're dealing with the select command, there are many clauses. There is the select clause. There is the from clause. There's the where clause. There's the Santa Claus. All right, come on. That's hilarious. Okay? There's the group by clause. There's the having clause. There's the order by clause. There's also a limit clause. There's a bunch of other ones, right? The main ones that we're going to care about for the near future, don't worry about limit, that'll come later. The main ones are here, okay? Only one of those is required to be a select statement. And guess what it is? Select, right? So how can I do a select statement without a from? Don't I have to select from some table? No. Select 10 It selected a 10. Wait for it. Select 8 times 9. It selected 72.
It's just showing the output of what you're doing.
Yeah, so you can select anything. You don't need a from clause. Now, if you're going to be useful, you need a from clause, right? But I want to make it clear, and if I were doing a homework assignment in the future and I got a question about which one's the only required one, I'd want to know this information I just shared with you. The only one that's required is a select statement. That's it, okay? Now, almost every time it's going to be the from clause, right? Select star from rep. I mean, it's always there, right? Then the next clause, and this is the order in which they have to be written, right? You have to write select before from. You have to write from before where. If you're going to use group by, it has to come before having. If you're going to use having, it has to come before an order by. If you're going to use an order by, it has to be in that list, that order. Okay, they have to be in that order. The big one we're going to spend our most time on is going to be this one on the next time we meet, the next video. And we'll dive in depth what you can do with the where clause. Then when we get into functions, where you can use a function in your code, we'll learn about these guys, okay? And then this is just simply sorting the data when the results are done. But my intent here was to really give you insert. Like that should be pretty clear. Watch the video again to get more clarity, but that was the goal for today. I want to touch on select, touch on update, and touch on delete so that when you see me use them in class, before you fully learn them, you'll at least know what I'm talking about. Good? Feel okay about all that? Any questions? All right, see you guys in a couple days.